Alright, so here we go again, another day, another drama in the gacha community, and this time, Wuthering Waves is at the center of it. But let's be clear, this isn't some scandal sparked by a particular content creator anymore. No, this is a work of a very loud, very opinionated, and hopefully, very small minority. Wuthering Waves 2.1 update dropped about a week ago, and as expected, gacha content creators wasted no time sharing their thoughts.
2.1 before Stop!
Some called it the best glow up since launch, praising the improvements and quality of life changes. Others, they claimed it to be the worst patch ever, like the game had suddenly crumbled overnight. But let's be clear, nobody, not a single person said that it was perfect, because it wasn't. And that's actually a good thing because, you know, it's Wuthering Waves, it's Kuro Games. Unlike certain other developers, they actually listen. Kuro Games has been making steady improvements every patch, fixing what needs fixing and refining what's already great. They take community feedback seriously, whether it's from surveys or content creators calling things out in videos. So it's honestly shocking to see this weird narrative pop up that the Wuthering Waves community is somehow becoming the thing they hated most. You know exactly what that's referring to. That is just completely out of touch with reality. The truth is, this community thrives on criticism, and that is exactly why the game keeps getting better. This isn't even the first time someone pushed this idea. Months ago, 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗵𝗁 made a similar comment about Wuthering Waves community. No hate to him, guy's great, but he's not exactly the glue that is holding the system together. But let's focus on what actually kicked off this round of discourse. A tweet claiming that the Wuwa community is slowly becoming what they hated most. Truly embarrassing. First of all, nice typo. If I didn't know any better, I thought this was an official Kuro Games announcement. Because let's be honest, Kuros and typos are like peanut butter and jelly at this point. If that ain't no typo, it ain't no Kuro. And the confidence in this take is just impressive. Someone responded with actual logic, pointing out that this community shift was really just one dumb person making a dumb post. And instead of re-evaluating, our guy doubles down with, did I say the whole Wuwa community? No, but slowly. Ah yes, the Mr. Pokey type tweet. I've seen this way too many times. I can't be wrong if I make my claim vague enough strategy. If you push back, they'll just move the goalpost. But plot twist, Tectone replies, and suddenly all of that confidence evaporates. The guy folds instantly, going from bold social commentary to, oh, hello, techie. I honestly have no idea if what I posted is incorrect or not. To be fair, I would also fold in the presence of the big T. But that's just a funny side note. It's not the actual problem here. The issue here is that there's this growing belief that Kuro bots, aka Wuthering Waves' more dedicated fan base, just can't take criticism. And I don't know what alternate reality these people live in, but that's just flat out wrong. The logic behind this whole argument is completely backwards. Kuro Games actively engages with player feedback. It's just their game based on criticism and even acknowledges community memes in official live streams.
比如提升报知相关，所以说啊，大家总是提及的𝗿𝗵，我们的维神的加班压力，在手按人上线后，终于可以解放了，
太好了。 我队伍最缺的一块拼图就要拼上了。
If the devs themselves are open to criticism, why wouldn't the players be? If people are trying to say Wuwa fans are thin skins and allergic to criticism, then what exactly do you call the game's constant improvements? Because last I checked, constructive criticism is what got us the major quality of life changes in 2.1. Now, if this were Genshin, I would understand the frustration. Hoyoverse doesn't listen unless there's a lawsuit involved, or a rivaling game is threatening their monopoly on the gacha space. You know they're panicking if they ever hand out a free 5-star selector, because at that point, the downfall of the game is officially here. Oh wait, they did give out a 5-star selection. And look, Genshin players have been stuck in that ecosystem for way too long. They're invested financially and emotionally. When things don't go their way, they don't just take the L, they cope hard. It's a classic sunk cost fallacy of no return. They've already spent too much time, energy, and money to walk away. So instead, they double down. And I think that's where a lot of this misplaced criticism is actually coming from. So let's be clear. Wuthering Waves does not need some defending. The game is doing fine, and most players are totally okay with valid constructive criticism. They're completely okay when you don't pull out arguments out of your ass, which is something that can't be said for the bad faith criticism running wild recently. And here's how it goes down every single time. Someone throws out a completely bad faith take, something exaggerated, disingenuous, or just straight up wrong. People call them out, and suddenly the narrative flips into, why are you refusing criticism? Are you just saying Wuwa is perfect? It's a bait and switch, and it is exhausting. The moment someone gets pushed back for a bad take, they pivot into playing the victim. And that is why this whole discourse is so messy, because half the time it's not about actual criticism at all. It is just about stirring the pot. And that's where the real damage happens. Because when bad faith criticism runs unchecked, it doesn't just create noise. The damage isn't just some petty internet drama. In the worst case scenario, it actively warps public perception, divides communities, and even throws game development off track. With that being said, let's talk about the consequences of letting bad faith criticism spread. First up is the distorted perception. Bad faith criticism criticism doesn't just sit in the corner of Twitter where it belongs. No, it spreads fast, and suddenly a game that people might have genuinely enjoyed gets completely written off before it even has a chance. You get review bombs, toxic comment sections, and casual players second guessing whether they should even bother trying it. And we've seen this play out before. Look at League of Legends. As much as you want to give it hate, it is one of the most well-designed, strategically deep games out there, but do people talk about that? No. They talk about how toxic the player base is, how weird the content creators are. It's a joke at this point. If you play League, apparently, you don't shower, you don't touch grass, and you're the weirdest person alive. That's how powerful negativity can be. It doesn't matter if a game is great. If the loudest voices say it's trash, that's what sticks. And then you got the community division, or as I like to call it, how to start a civil war in your own fandom. Mr. Pokey is really good at this. Bad faith criticism doesn't encourage real discussion. It just forces people into corners. Instead of working together to make a game better, you get this ridiculous us versus them dynamic. One side is defending a game no matter what, the other side is tearing it down just for the sake of it, and guess what gets lost in the middle? Actual useful feedback. And suddenly people aren't talking about real issues anymore, like 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗵𝗵𝗵, tuner problems, or why we still don't have flight in 1.x. No, instead they're busy arguing over whether or not criticism is even allowed. And at that point, nothing productive is happening. And then there's developer misalignment. Developers listen to feedback, and that's just a fact. At least the ones outside of the Genshin Impact dev team, right? But when the loudest voices are coming out from bad faith critics, that feedback loop gets completely wrecked. Devs end up feeling pressure to respond to outrage instead of focusing on real issues. They make changes they don't need to make, just to quiet the noise. And the game starts drifting away from what actually matters. One well-cited example is the Star Wars Battlefront 2. During its development, the team was bombarded by vocal minority of critics who focused almost exclusively on the game's loot box and progression mechanics. Under that pressure, the developers made a rapid performative changes aimed at quieting the outrage rather than addressing deeper design concerns. The result was a game that, while trying to appease its loudest voices, drifted away from its original vision and ultimately hurt its reputation. So this whole thing isn't just about annoying internet discourse. This is about how bad takes can literally derail a game's development. Instead of fixing actual problems, devs get caught up in performative fixes that make no real impact. So what's the solution? We'll get into that. But first, there is even a bigger issue: how good fake criticism is getting caught in the crossfire. And that is where things get really messy. Now, this whole problem isn't just some random Twitter user trying to stir the pot. It is bleeding into content creators who are actually trying to provide fair, constructive criticism. And for some reason, people are struggling to tell the difference between actual critique and just bad faith nonsense. Take Ryuuku Sensei, for example. The guy is known Kurobot, probably one of the most diehard Wuthering Waves supporters out there, but when he called out real issues like the Echo EXP grinds and tuners, people immediately started dismissing him. Skill issue, luck issue, it's not a game issue. Are you serious? That's not an argument. That's just plugging your ears and pretending there isn't a problem. And then there's Tectone. Love him or hate him. I mean, for the most part, love him, right? This man has played every gacha game under the sun. Maybe. I mean, the guy played Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Come on, man. If there's anyone who knows how to break a game's strengths and weaknesses, it's him. He's literally the gacha Jesus at this point. And here's the kicker. He actually likes Wuthering Waves. So if he's pointing out flaws, it's not because he wants the game to fail. It is because he wants it to get better. So why wouldn't you listen to someone like that? Even if you don't completely agree with Ryuku's suggested solutions, or maybe you don't like how Tectone brings up his points, the fact that they're bringing up a real issue should be enough to warrant a discussion. This isn't about blindly defending Wuthering Waves. The devs listen, they adjust, and they fix things. We've seen it happen time and time again. So with that track record, why wouldn't we trust them to do it again? Here's the real danger. When you start shutting down good faith criticism, you're not just silencing complaints. You are hurting the game in the long run. First, you miss opportunities for real improvement. Games don't get better through blind praise. They get better through constructive feedback. And when that feedback gets ignored, these problems just linger longer than they should. Second, it discourages future criticism. If every single valid critique gets drowned in the backlash, fewer people are going to step up and voice their concerns. I mean, look at what happened to the Genshin creators, right? Look at what you did to them. And that doesn't just affect content creators, it affects everyone. At some point, players will just stop bothering, because what's the point of filling out surveys or making feedback posts if the community itself refuses to engage with it? And worst of all, you risk making developers defensive. Imagine being a dev team that actually listens to its community, only to see players dogpile on anyone who dares to provide feedback. If that keeps happening, at some point, even the most receptive devs will start tuning it all out. And that is the worst case scenario ever. Because then guess what? Nobody wins. The game stops improving, real concerns get lost in the noise, and then we end up in the same kind of mess that other gacha communities have struggled on for years. So what can we do about it? What can you guys as a community do about it? And what can I as a content creator do to help? For now, I'm just going to sit back and watch. I want to see how this plays out, but when the time comes, oh, you know, I'm going to say what I think about it. But in the meantime, what do you think? Are the people confusing good faith criticism with bad takes? Is the backlash against fair critiques actually helping or hurting Wuthering Waves? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe and actually have a real discussion.